All right, hello students. Happy Friday and happy Labor Day weekend. I don't think it's too early to kick that off, at least not in my book. Um, Not going to have a PowerPoint today, so offer up the Alleluias, start up the joyful procession of praise and thanksgiving to God. Um, we're going to be doing a short discussion introducing our next topic, which I already previewed last time, which is now we're focusing on who we are as human beings. And we're specifically going to be looking at that through the context of something that you're probably at least a little bit familiar with, which is the early chapters of Genesis. So the creation story, Adam and Eve, and what follows immediately after that. To do that, I'm not going to be lecturing. Again, send up the alleluias, the glory bees. Instead, I'm going to be turning over the reins to you, which is really something that traditionally I would be doing in class normally, is something that we call a jigsaw activity. So in the really not really even the second part, but really the majority of this video today is just going to be setting up and explaining how a jigsaw activity works. And we want to make sure that we fully understand that because we're going to be coming back to this probably quite a few times throughout this semester, especially next semester in the spring if you still have me. I'm sure you've done jigsaw activities before, but the way that I do them often varies. I like to mix it up a little bit. And again, remember that you guys are hanging with me here. Okay, this has been really tough to just have these videos, really dry content. This is not normally how class is going to work, I promise. Okay, I am a dry person. Unfortunately, it's just the monotone voice and everything else, the sense of humor. But class will definitely be more activity based. Like to do visual things, like to take us on, out of the classroom as often as we can. That's more of my bread and butter. So I'm glad today that we get to do something like that. All right, really quickly, don't even need to have out your notebooks for this. Why we're talking about human nature. By now, you should have completed and turned in your paper, one page on what it means to be human. What is a human being? And it seems like such a simple question to ask, but it has a very complex answer. And in the realm of science, in the realm of philosophy, in the realm of theology, and in the realm of medicine, there's a lot of different ways historically that people have answered that question. And even today, there's a lot of ongoing debate about what it means to be a human being. We're going to kind of distill that down as we head into next week and we look through what will end up being the last part of our first chapter, which is a focus on Genesis, creation, and that relationship between God and his creation, which primarily is going to center on us as the pinnacle of his creation, which means the most important part of his creation. So that's why we're answering these questions. That's why we're looking into that. And I really look forward to reading what you had to write in your response to that prompt. So hopefully that wasn't too bad there. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This is the assignment that you're actually going to be doing today. And it's just a bit of a different mix-up. Normally, we wouldn't be doing this electronically, but just with the constraints and everything, me not being there, it just is a lot easier for Mr. Johnson to facilitate and for all of you to do if we do it electronically. Normally, we'll end up doing this in much more of a hands-on interactive way. So I still want to emphasize that that's the experience that I want us to get out of this today is a lot of you working with other people around you. The risk that we always run with having our devices involved is inevitably that it's easy just to get distracted and just when it's go time, like, oh crap, we've got 10 minutes before we need to turn something in, then we'll get together and actually work through something. Okay. I'm really, really asking that as much as you can, you just fight the temptation to wander off onto something else using your device today. Don't get your devices out yet. I'll prompt you later when you're able to do that. For now, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to explain and take you through what's going to happen with our jigsaw activity today. So the actual assignment itself, by the time I'm recording this, has not been posted, but it will be available for you. And this looks like a lot, but I put all of the directions that I'm going to explain to you now verbally on this assignment in case you missed something or in case you needed to be reminded of what to do. So really quickly, surely as a kid growing up, or even now, obviously, if this is a area of kind of a hobby or something fun that you do with your family, at some point, I'm sure you've done a jigsaw puzzle. I myself remember a time when that was one of the things that we do as a family is we try to tackle, kind of work our way up. Like, anybody can do 100-piece puzzle, in my opinion. Okay. Well, maybe with some difficulty at first, but you slowly work your way up. And there's kind of this feeling of like a deeper and deeper challenge. All right, from 100 to 250 pieces. And you make that big jump to 500 pieces, then 1,000 piece. Okay. And you just keep building up from there. So that was something that we really enjoyed doing as a family, as just kind of like a family bonding thing, because a lot of times amidst the search for all the pieces is a lot of good conversation. And that's kind of what we're trying to recreate today is good conversation. Puzzle is a very basic idea. One piece does not give you the full picture. If you've ever done a puzzle before, you know that it's really difficult to do a puzzle without having the picture on the box right in front of you. And there's kind of a strategy. Maybe this is something that someone can just shout out loud that I'll never hear, but what is usually the strategy that's taken to effectively do a jigsaw puzzle? Like, what's one of the best strategies that most people try to employ? Somebody say it. The one I'm thinking of is people try to start with the edges first, the border, right? And then work their way in. And that's especially helpful if you're trying not to look at the box, like to even increase the challenge more. So today, we're not going to have the image on the box. This is metaphorically speaking. We're not actually doing a puzzle, although that could be something that we do at some point for fun, to look off of. So we're not going to have the full picture, okay? In fact, we're not even really acting fully like the person doing the puzzle. We're actually kind of being the puzzle pieces ourselves. And I'll explain what I mean. We're going to look at, as a class, not individually, but as a class, the first 4 chapters of the book of Genesis. Each of them is equivalent to 1 page on a website. Okay, so pretty short reading, not too long. Instead of you individually reading all 4 of those and then doing something with that, you're going to be working with your group mates in this style of jigsaw that we're doing today. And the team of however many it's going to be, 4 or 5 of you, are going to tackle that 1 chapter. Another team is going to tackle the 2nd chapter, and so on and so forth, so that each group is acting like 1 piece of our puzzle. By the time we're finished, there'll be an information sharing that's kind of like putting those pieces together so that the whole class can see the full picture that we're trying to get from this creation story in Genesis. Okay, so that's kind of the method behind what we're doing today. It's just a much more efficient way for all of us to get information that would normally be kind of a drab for one of us to just sit down and read 4 chapters of the Bible and try to figure out what the meaning is and the things that we're trying to get from it. So that's how jigsaw activities work. All right, I've broken this down into 5 steps. Okay. Once you are put into your groups, which I will let Mr. Johnson handle, there are 4 groups. So however many people are in the class divided by 4, roughly speaking, try to even them up as much as we can to make this go smoothly. And once you have been assigned your groups, okay, before you even start the reading, okay, you need to do what I call the planning phase, okay? By this point, most of you are returning students. You should know each other fairly well. You should have a good idea of kind of what your general abilities are, your strengths, weaknesses, your comfort levels, etc. Okay. I do these things again, not because, well, this is just what's helpful for school. Okay. This is a skill that carries over directly, as Mr. Johnson can attest to, into the business world, into the professional world. If you want to be an upper level person one day, if you want to be that 6-figure person that's managing other people, you need to know how to identify strengths and weaknesses in other people. You need to know your own strengths and weaknesses, and you need to know how to manage those assets well so that you can get the job done as best that you can. And that's a skill that we're trying to build up here, okay, is to build up some leadership in each one of us. So you need to kind of look and say, okay, well, I've got Billy, and I've got Susie, and I've got Jeffrey and myself. Okay, I know that I'm not a very comfortable person reading out loud. So we need to figure out, okay, we know that we need to do this reading as a group. How are we going to tackle that? Okay, so that's where that conversation starts. So I say here, how is your group going to tackle the reading? Individually, popcorn style, one person reads while the others listen, you decide. So you have the license as your group to decide how you want to read, how you want to tackle it, okay? And I'll tell you from experience in the past, it literally just depends on who's in the group. Some groups really like to do popcorn. Some groups really like it when everyone just reads quietly in their own mind, and then they talk and move on to the next step afterwards. Okay, that is totally up to you what you want to do. You can come up with something new. Once you've planned that out and you've decided how you're going to tackle the assignment, what you need to do individually is go ahead and pull up this assignment that I have here in one tab. And you need to create, I know it looks different on your screen. You'll have the Google Docs and all that stuff over here. You need to create a blank Google Doc from this assignment. Okay, that is what you as an individual are going to turn in. Okay, if I've lost you at this point, you really need to focus, and Mr. Johnson can reiterate this. You as an individual, once you're put into your group and once you've planned how you're going to go about this activity, how you're going to tackle the reading, first and foremost, you as an individual need to pull up a blank Google Doc from this assignment. That is going to be what you are turning in for points. It's an in-class activity. You have no homework for the long break because who wants to have homework over Labor Day weekend? Okay. So once you've done that, you're going to be following the steps that I give you and putting that information into that Google Doc that you will then turn in by the end of class. Okay. So time is of the essence here. Once you've tackled the reading, okay, or actually really even while the reading is going on, depending on the way that you're doing it, you need to be taking notes. When we actually get back to, or once I'm actually back in person with all of you, I'm going to be giving you reading packets on paper so that you can actually get your hands on them and highlight and underline, and we'll talk about how to do that. The key ideas that you think are important from that reading, okay? That is a skill that you build up. You may be thinking, man, I've never really read the Bible. How am I supposed to know what's important in Scripture? Okay. Again, this is one of those skills that I want to help build up because I'm sure a lot of you have at least thought about going to college, or again, you've thought about being in the professional world, hopefully, right? You want to contribute to society and provide for your family. Meetings are a huge part of the professional world. Okay. Love them or hate them, they're there. Note taking is key. Okay. Getting the key ideas. And the college route, okay, you're going to be assigned a lot of reading in college, especially for your prereq classes, or excuse me, for your gen ed classes. Or depending on your major, you could be assigned a lot of reading. You need to learn how to just sort out all the fluff, okay, all the stuff that you don't need, and just to key in on the things that are important. That is a skill that you have to build up. The analogy that I use for how to do this effectively is, I always use sports analogies because I'm a sports guy. Imagine that someone, or you ask someone, excuse me, let's flip it around. Let's imagine if someone asked you, a friend of yours, hey, did you see the game last night? Okay, whatever, football, basketball, baseball, whatever it was. Hey, did you see the game last night? And you're like, no, I didn't. Well, what follows is a person starts telling you about the game. And imagine, let's say it was a baseball game. Imagine your friend went like this. Oh, okay. Well, in the first inning, I don't know. Shohei Ohtani threw a fastball just outside, and it was a ball just off the plate. And then the next pitch, he threw a curveball landed for a strike, and the next pitch, Jose Altuve fouled back, and the count was 1-2. You'd be like, dude, just give me the highlights. Like, who won the game? Did anybody hit any home runs? Was there a great play on defense? Were there any fights? Did anyone get ejected? Like, just cut all that stuff out. Just tell me the basic things. Okay. That's the same mindset that I would recommend having for this process. Okay. We don't need every little minute detail. Okay. We just need the key ideas, the basic things. All right. Be concise. So once you've planned, as you're tackling the reading or afterwards, depending on which reading strategy your group comes up with, you yourself in that Google Doc, it'll look very informal and disorganized, but just have your name on it and you're going to be taking notes. Okay. You can use bullet points, you can use numbers, you can write a little paragraph, you can write sentences, however you want to take notes electronically. I want to see that you were taking notes while reading or after you read. Okay. Step 3 is really just an extension of step 2. The who, what, when, where, why, and how. Let those easy one-word questions guide what you decide to put in your notes. Again, I give the example. Imagine you're telling a friend about the basketball game on TV last night. You're not going to bore them with a bunch of details. You know, oh yeah, then Kevin Durant, he had a layup on a fast break. And then the other team inbounded the ball. And then they came, it'd be like, dude, come on. Like, you know, but whatever. James Harden hit a game winner, fadeaway 3, you know. I mean, it was just an unbelievable game. You should have seen it. Like, that's all we need to know. Give us the highlights. Okay, give us the highlights. You're going to record the answers to those questions as best you can, depending on your reading, in your Google Doc. So if you want to list out who, what, when, where, why, and how, and try to fill in those things, doesn't necessarily need to be complete sentences, right? I want to see that step, okay, that you're forming the key ideas, okay? So when you're finished, you should have some notes as you're going, which is like a little summary of what you read, the key ideas. And then you should have the who, what, when, where, why, and how also answered, okay, just in case you didn't cover that in your summary. At that point, you're basically good to turn in the assignment, because that's why I put those things in bold. And that's what I'll score you on for your in-class work today, okay, mostly an effort-based thing. But you're not done, okay? We still have to complete the puzzle. So as a group, this whole time, you're discussing, you're talking. Once you've had those key takeaway ideas, you're going to share them with your group mates, okay? What you considered important may be something that the person sitting next to you completely overlooked. And they're like, oh man, you're right. That was a really important part. And I missed that. Okay. So then you share that and you're building each other up and you're holding each other accountable for the information. Okay. That's effective group work. All right. Once you've had a chance to discuss, I'll let Mr. Johnson kind of give some cues and just kind of say, you know, hey, are we pretty close to finishing? We need about 5 more minutes. I expect this activity to run for most of the rest of class. Okay. Then what's going to happen is in your 4 groups, one person from each of the 4 groups is going to form a new group. So you'll have one person from group 1, one person from group 2, one person from group 3, person from group 4. And then that'll be one group. And then you'll have one person from group 1, one person from group 2, et cetera, until you formed 4 groups that have, hopefully there's going to be an even number, but it may not be that way. At least one person from each of the original 4 groups. All right. So heading into that situation, you've got your summary, you've got your key ideas, you've got your discussion with your group mates. All that's left is each group in order is going to share, if time permits, with the other people in their group, their key ideas. So you're teaching and giving your piece of the puzzle to the other group people that didn't see your section of the reading. Okay. So if you're in group 1, you read Genesis chapter 1. Guess what? Groups 2, 3, and 4, all those people, that's the majority of the class, didn't read that. They're relying on you to effectively communicate to them what happened in Genesis chapter 1. All right. So there's that built-in accountability. And you need to make sure you do your job, because if you show up at the end and you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs the whole time, or on a website that you're not supposed to be on, or playing a game, or doing something else, then you've just screwed over everyone else. Okay. And it may not seem like a big deal and just a little in class assignment your sophomore year of high school, but it's about setting habits for the future to be successful, because that's the stuff that doesn't fly in the workplace. That's the stuff that lets people down. That's the stuff that gets you fired one day if you're not holding up your end of the deal. Okay. People are relying on you. They're counting on you. That's called teamwork. That's called being selfless. And that's what we want to build up. All right. So to review really quickly, today we're going to be split up into 4 groups. You will find one thing I forgot to mention: the reading for your group, depending on your group number that you're assigned, on the Google Classroom page. So Mr. Johnson just wants to count off down the rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, et cetera, or whatever way works best for each class. Then we will have 4 groups. Hopefully they're about evenly spread. Once you get in those groups, you're going to go onto Google Classroom. You're going to pull up the assignment I just showed you in one tab. You're going to pull up your class or your group's reading in the other tab. You're going to plan how you're going to go about the reading. You're going to have a Google Doc open so that either while one person is reading or while you're reading, you're taking notes, summarizing the key ideas. You're also going to answer the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Just list those out and answer them in that Google Doc. And then you're going to discuss with your group mates what it is that were, in fact, the key ideas, in case you miss something, they miss something, etc. At that point, when Mr. Johnson determines everyone's basically finished, you're going to go off into pulling one person from each of the 4 groups to form 4 unique groups now that have one person from group 1, one from group 2, one from group 3, one from group 4, more or less. And then starting with the person in group 1, you're going to go around the circle and explain what your reading was about, so that we get in order Genesis 1, 2, 3, and 4 effectively explained at the end. Okay, that is the finished goal. And today, obviously, this is just kind of a practice round for this jigsaw type activity that we'll come back to a lot. Okay, so hopefully that all makes sense. What you can do at this time is have Mr. Johnson clarify anything. I know he's completely aware of this activity and everything like that. So if you have any questions, you can ask him. Otherwise, Mr. Johnson, you're good to split the students up into groups, have them get their devices out. If someone forgot a device, then you need to be paired with someone that does, so that you can at least be looking at the reading, and you'll need to turn in your notes on paper to Mr. Johnson by the end of class. So you're still actively doing something, okay? Once you're in those groups, follow those steps that I have on the assignment, pull up your reading. Those are all on the class page, and make sure we're working well today. Make sure we're on task. And remember what I said last time on my little rants, okay? I'm not accepting work that is subpar. I will simply tell you you have 2 choices. You do it over again and you do it the right way, or you just don't do it at all, okay? If you do it over again, you've redeemed yourself. You're getting those points. If you don't, then tough luck. Okay. It's basically like a missing assignment in my book, because you slacked, you didn't put in the effort, things like that. Okay. I'm holding us to a higher standard. So let's work hard today. Let's grind. It's a Friday. We're before a nice long break over the weekend. Beautiful weather coming up. We want to enjoy that. Work hard right now, and you have no homework for Labor Day. All right. Look forward to being back with you guys. Go ahead and get started. And God bless you all. Have a great weekend. Make sure you go to Mass on Sunday.